Social justice in South Africa can only be achieved when there are equal opportunities in education and an economy for all people, regardless of their race and gender. These were the sentiments that were shared by pupils in Gqeberha in the Eastern Cape during a panel discussion which discussed the importance of social justice and accountability in the modern society.
30 years since the dawn of democracy, South Africa still grapples with its legacy. Unequal access opportunities to education, unequal pay, segregated communities, and massive economic differences persists. South Africa has the highest Gini coefficient in the world, making it the most unequal society. This dialogue is created to find what social justice means to young people and if this ideal has been reached for the country.
Social justice is equal rights and opportunities for everyone, and I think it's so important in terms of our history as a country because previously we weren't all given equal rights and opportunities, and I think to rectify the mistakes of the past is very important. And so to give everyone equal rights and opportunities today means that we can all go on to have equal rights and opportunities in the workplace.
Justice to me is just about fairness and accountability. As a country, we come from a very difficult background, and so it's all about regaining that equality amongst us just as people and as humanity. And it's also about acknowledging your privilege if you do have it and speaking for those who don't.
For the youth of today to understand the importance and the privilege it is to be able to be educated. And I think once we have a buy-in system from everyone in the country and we all have a clear understanding of what social justice is and what we can achieve as a country with social justice, education will be so easily achieved and everyone will have a greater advantage in our economy.
Segregation too remains a fundamental problem in South Africa, exposing large differences between public and private schools.
We realize that the very fact that only some can get to this amazing school is a matter of social injustice and owing to the injustices of the past. Also, what we've seen is that the neighboring schools, such as St. James and St. Augustine, don't have the same resources, such as laboratories, libraries, and even sports grounds. So education is one area.
Madonsela says more than half the population of South Africa continues to live below the national poverty line, with the black population being the worst affected. She says until policies are reconstructed to favor all races economically, social justice will continue to be a pipe dream. Lerato Fekisi, SABC News, Gqeberha.
The 5th International Social Justice Conference and the 6th Annual Social Justice Summit is set to take place on the 17th and 18th of this month. For a discussion on this, we're joined by Stellenbosch University Centre for Social Justice Director, Professor Thuli Madonsela. Prof. Madonsela, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Social justice has itself become a contested space, given a more polarized politics that defines the modern day approaches to solving inequality problems around the world. When we think about social justice problems like hunger and the very specific divides around hunger, when we think about differences in incarceration rates, when we think about the differences in healthcare access, these are all social justice issues, and how we solve it, how we go about solving it has been hotly contested. How do we find a middle ground and a system and an approach that works?
Greetings, Oliver, and to the viewers, and thank you for the privilege. I think the starting point to solve these social justice problems that we have outlined aptly is to agree that we have a duty to advance social justice. As a country, it is a constitutional responsibility that is stated in the preamble, and the Constitutional Court has affirmed it in cases such as Prof. It's an international responsibility that is enshrined in international instruments such as the ILO founding statement, which was 1919, and also the Copenhagen Declaration on Social Development. And therefore, the starting point is really just to acknowledge that it's not a nice to do. It's something that we all must do. And I agree with you that we have to find middle ground, because for social justice to be achieved in an unequal society by design, where the state was responsible for designing inequality, then something has to be done to shift the inequalities, which means some discomfort for those who are advantaged. And therefore, that being the case, then we do need a middle ground, and we do need to walk gentle but walk forward.
Yeah. Our global collective aspirations around social justice and its achievement is captured in the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Are we globally on track to meeting those sustainable goals?
No, we're not on track. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres gave us a midterm report that indicated that only 70% of the goals are likely to be achieved, looking at current trends. And goal number 2, which is zero hunger, is one of those goals that are lagging behind. But having said that, hunger is a multidimensional problem. It's not just about food production, which is agriculture. It's about affordability of food, which means we can't make progress, as the students from Gqeberha said, on hunger if we don't make progress on education, on health, on income equality, on wealth inequality and land inequality.
If you look at a country like South Africa, and this is what an agricultural economist tells us, is that we are not a food insecure country. We produce enough food to feed everyone in this country. Yet we do have a hunger and malnutrition in this country because food inequality and hunger and food insecurity in South Africa exist in households because of the unequal and uneven distribution of food resources. How do we solve that problem through the collective approach that you had spoken about earlier?
Well, firstly, that acknowledgement that modern poverty and modern hunger is primarily an inequality issue and a justice problem, including social justice. So that acknowledgement is a good starting point. Secondly, in South Africa, we have to acknowledge that 63% of households are food insecure. 17% of those are in extreme dire straits. And how do we solve it? Firstly, acknowledge that there's a problem. Look at what is already being done. There's a lot of good practices, and scale that and make sure that we reach every household. But based on that, we've got to accept that eliminating hunger, eliminating inequality is not a matter of welfare or charity. It is a human rights responsibility. It is a constitutional governance and accountability matter.
It's also a matter of policy. Are we radical in, do we have the radical types of policies that are brave enough to say no one in this country should go hungry to bed when we have enough food to feed everyone?
Well, we are a country of plenty, but we also have plenty of policies and plenty of money that this country uses to try and end hunger. And I mean, to be fair to government, we're one of the few countries that spend a lot on the social wage. So it's not lack of policies or lack of political will. There are 3 problems that are the core of it. One is where these resources are being given to the people, they're eaten by corruption. The second one is where some of the people that are supposed to do the work are not competent to do it. But the key one for us, which we will be talking about at the summit, is what we refer to as trade bullets. Policies that have nothing to do with food security are undermining food security. They are undermining progress on equality and related measures. That's why we've become the most unequal society in the world, despite plenty of policies and a lot of money that has been spent to advance equality.
Yeah, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. That is Professor Thuli Madonsela, the Director for Social Justice at Stellenbosch University.